Hi, glad you could join us. I'm Annette Sherman. This is Community. The subject of today's show is the State College of Florida's film and media classes. Now, what they offer currently, and we'll find out about what they offer currently, and we'll look at the association that we have had with this outstanding media organization. Okay, I want to mention something about the students that come to us and work with us as interns. Del Jacobs and his SCF for many years as the college and Del Jacobs as participants in their intern program. We have had some really talented and, may I say, wonderful people who have become friends over the years. Oh, about 16 or more years ago, I had a young man come in, and I must say handsome and charming, and he came to us as an intern, and from SCF, but it was known as Manatee Community College at that point. And within a short time, he became director of Community, the TV show. And I have watched, his name is Damon Shikari, and I have watched Damon grow and develop into one of the best and most creative video production professionals in the business, and one of the busiest. He still serves as our director when he's not working with some lucrative on-location assignments. We've actually had excellent SCF interns, including a very talented budding young professional by the name of Joe Diaz. And Joe is working with us now, and he is in the control room, and he started as an intern. And we have 3 SCF interns who work with us. Let me introduce my guests, and we'll find out a little bit about them and what they're doing. First, my dear friend, Del Jacobs. Delmar Jacobs and I have been friends for, gosh, what do you figure, 35, 40?
A quarter century or more.
A long, long time. I don't even remember how I met you. Do you?
Oh, gosh. Well, you used to have a show on UHF Channel 62, and I think that was one of my first professional associations with you.
Okay.
And I think you may have come to some cinema events that I organized back
yes.
then as well.
I came to your events and met some of your students, and then met you, and we just immediately became friends. There was something about Del. Del has a speaking voice that is absolutely beautiful and melodic. And I used to call, I didn't tell Del this, but I did admit it subsequently, I used to call Del on some trumped up reason because I wanted to hear him speak. His speaking voice was so wonderful, and I'd say, "Oh, thank you. I needed that information, Del. Thank you."
You confess. Thank you.
Yes. But anyway, Del and I have been good friends, and I'm a great admirer of Del, not just because of his teaching, which is wonderful, and the fact that he has students that come and work with us and are just divine, but because he's also an excellent, excellent writer. And he's written, I think, more than 2 books. How many books have you written?
2 and some articles.
Okay.
Right.
And they are not only informational books that you get when professors write books. I didn't mention the fact that Del, what is your official title at?
Director of Film and Media Studies.
Is Director of Film and Media
Studies.
Okay. But he's also an excellent writer, and he's very consumed with the subject, and he loves to do research, which makes him an excellent writer because he tells the story very well. These books can be gotten where?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble,
Okay.
Borders.
One,
not anymore. Borders
this
is out of
one
business,
is, and this is an old picture of
that's an academic publication called Revisioning Film Traditions. I wrote it as a result of wanting to do more inquiring into documentary and westerns, 2 different genres that I like, and turned it into a book. And it's a library edition, so it's being used for research primarily. People can still buy it though. It's the other book is Popular Press, meaning it's paperback.
Okay, this is Popular Press, and it's called Interrogating the Image. And this is the one I'm more familiar with because when I started to read it, I said, oh hum, I'm going to be bored with this in 10 minutes or less. And I started reading it, and I finished the whole book. And I said, oh my Lord, what happened? It's just that it is very interesting and very well put and well described. Tell what it is about.
Well, we look at several films in there that look at the world of movie making, the world of television making. In fact, starting January 26th, we're doing a weekly series at Ringling about movies, about the movies. And Cohort and I are going to host those free screenings. So I can give you more information about that
I
later.
mentioned State College of Florida. I didn't mention that Del also teaches at Ringling College of Art and Design. And so he's kept busy, and that's rightfully so. He has a lot to impart, and the students who have been in his classes have moved on to many, I'm sure, to wonderful, successful professional careers. So you can be extremely proud of the work that you do and the way that you do it.
Well, and you too have given a training base for a lot of our students. You mentioned 3 prominent ones earlier. Thank you.
But isn't that wonderful that the opportunity is here, and that you are a wonderful source of these young people at a time when they're learning with you and with your school and with the classes, and then they come here and they learn from Damon and they learn from what we're doing. We're delighted, so let's keep going that direction. I want to introduce my other 2 guests, who are, I don't know as well, but I would like to because they're very interesting. Chris Belanca, okay, and Director of Film and Media Studies. No, director is what is this? Teaching multiple courses at SCF for 10 plus years.
10 years.
Well, he looks about 14 years old, so he was 4 when he started, but he was very precocious.
There's no gray hair on Chris.
What?
There's no gray hair on Chris.
Well, I'm waiting.
Okay, we learned a little bit about Del, and time is really not our friend on this particular program because we wanted the 3 of you on, but we have only a half an hour. Tell me a bit about Chris.
Very briefly, when I got out of State University of New York in the late 90s, I went to work with independent, micro, and no-budget pictures as a director, and a writer, an editor, and an actor.
But outside of that, no.
Yeah. Well, soon enough.
Okay,
Del Jacobs
how
and I
long have
met.
you been working at State College?
This will be my 11th year.
11th year.
I'm 39.
Well, you don't look 39. You know you don't look 39, but 11 years is a healthy period of time that you've done all the learning you're going to, and you're teaching these young people what you know. And that, I think that's important, and giving them the experience of doing while learning. We'll get back to you in a moment. John James. John sent me information about him. I needed it to prepare, and he finished almost a full page, and then he said, that's about all I can give you, because I asked him to be briefly, considering that I've been doing this for 57 years. So I think he's miraculous to fill the space that ably, and tell us now a bit about those 57 years, but don't go into detail.
Okay. Well, I began my career in theater in 1959, and I have spent most of my time in that. However, I'm here today really to mention the film program, which we started in the early 1970s with a couple of classes, and with no one really
at Manatee.
At Manatee Community College. It was Manatee Junior College before that. At any rate, we didn't have anyone with any kind of experience other than just graduate study work in film. And so probably the most important thing I did, certainly at the State College of Florida, was to make sure that Del Jacobs got hired, because we then had someone with a very solid background in film, and the program took off. As I said, when we began, we offered a film history class and a very, very elementary film making class. In those days, of course, we were using film, period.
Yes.
Video
and it's
was
fascinating to me, having been in this so long myself, to see the changes that start to take place creep into existence,
Yes.
and then just obliterate what you use, whatever it is. Even the DVDs now are being obliterated even as we're sitting here. What are they being replaced with, Del?
They're being replaced with images and sounds that are in the cloud, that are downloaded, that are on files. You know, all of us up here have been fortunate enough to go through this, and yourself included, this game in media with all these different screens, the silver screen, the movies, the television screen, the computer screen, and now the smartphone screen. So we've had 4 screens in our existence, and usually one starts to displace the other. You're right.
And it is not like teaching history. Well, it is in a way. It is in a way. You're teaching, you have to touch on all of these things to get to where you should be now. So, these young people may not even be aware, or to a great extent, about these other mediums, the other utilization of recording that was popular in their lifetime. As they move into their teens and so forth, and see what is here, and it is so highly computerized. Is that an accurate?
It is. I mean, our game has been technologically based as well as artistically based, so we have to meld the two, and having students get working experience with the nuts and bolts of the industry, whatever that might be at their level, is really part of the educational process. It's not just sitting in the classroom, it's doing.
I want to find out, John, in the 57 years,
Yes.
and this may be an unfair question, but I have a feeling you can handle it. What are you most proud of?
Well, I think I touched on it already. I think, although theater is my background, I think the most important thing that I was involved with was getting the film program started. That was obviously the future. When we started the program, we were dealing with film, period.
Did you work with Del in the beginning?
No, I turned it over to him and I said,
What?
I turned it over to him and I said, get this off my back.
This guy went to Southern California and interacted with real
He
professionals.
said, take it
He's-
over,
he's-
I'm going to
he's-
California with a big time.
And he came back and said, okay, now I'm the professional, you do it.
Okay, I would say, I would tend to agree with you, not even knowing the many other things in detail, but that was such a wonderful thing, because how many students, did you ever figure, Del, how many students that have passed through your portals,
Well,
as it were?
I'll just give you an annual take, and in the class that John James helped me get back going after he initiated at History of Motion Pictures, we have about 500 students a year take that class. Now, they're not all filmmakers. They're often other majors, nursing. It's an elective for them because they've grown up with the moving image, and they want to have a different kind of appreciation of it rather than just sitting in front of a screen. And we've been able to foster that, and other classes along the way.
Okay,
But
well, I'm going to interrupt you because I don't want to run out of time, and I want to find out what is in the future. Okay, let's start with Chris.
The future for State College of Florida is an ambitious new library facility that will house our new studio. And we're really moving up in terms of space, the amount of space, and we'll be able to house some new technology therein. I'm very excited.
Okay, well, so it isn't a guess. You know what's going to be happening.
Yeah, I've been a large part of it, helping design the layout and implement the technology, and very much a big part of moving forward.
Del, what's going to happen?
Well, I think we're going to see more people be empowered by the invitation to make film. And I'm saying film, but of course it is a digital format. We have a new class called Smartphone Filmmaking. It's a general elective. Anyone can take it. This is the first semester it's being taught. We got an idea from a TED Talk at NYU, and they were doing it, so we said we can do it. I found a professor to do it, Don Guy, who's a filmmaker, comes from the world of advertising, and it just started this semester. So even if you're not a traditional student and you have a smartphone and you want to realize the 21st century's means of modern communication and become better at it, you can take a class at our community college.
Okay, if people watching now, what are the requirements? Do we have an age requirement? Do we have a graduate degree from high school? Do we have, what are the needs?
Students can enter as a degree-seeking student in the 2-year program, or a 2-year program that transfers to a 4-year school. They can enter as a non-degree seeking student, a lifetime learner.
There are a lot of variations on the theme.
There are a lot of variations,
Okay.
yeah.
The best thing to do is to call
Sure.
or get in touch via email. I hope we have this. I think we do. Oh, look, there it is. And that's a telephone number to call. I can just about read it from here. You know that number.
That's my number, right. 941-752-5593.
Okay, they reach you.
They can reach me and I can point them in the right direction, or they can go directly to the website, that's the general website, and negotiate themselves.
Okay, if you want to listen to the voice that always appealed to me for many, many years, where I would make up these reasons to call Del Jacobs just to hear him speak, dial that number and you'll reach Del Jacobs, and he'll help you to go forward wherever you have to go to connect with the people that'll help you to get involved in these courses that we're talking about. There's a lot to be done. Anything that you specifically want to see, Chris, happen?
That I want to see happen in terms of the program? Expansion, more class offerings, the ability for the student to really work with their ability to grow and manage projects and move with them in the most professional of manner. And I like to deal with students
More
on
of the
an
same is
individual
what you're saying,
basis.
really.
Well, we keep tweaking our approach to things, particularly with the previous conversation about technology. A lot of students were brought up in front of the camera, if you think about telephones these days, so they're all hams.
Yeah, isn't that an interesting point? Isn't that an interesting truth? That there have been so many changes, of course. I was not weaned on the computer or this kind of thing. So everything that comes into popularity is, oh my goodness, is that all right? But take something as simple, going to a wedding. And used to be, they'd have the professional photographers, which they still have. But 90% of the people take out their little cell phone and take pictures of the bride or the groom or their people at their table. And everybody, I was in a store, a department store, and shopping, and these 2 young girls were there. They were in the pocketbook department. And what I would do when I was their age, I'd put it on and look in the mirror and check and whatever. She put it on. She said, "Take a picture of me." She wanted a picture she could take a look at. I don't understand that, because it's not something I understand. Why wouldn't she just look in the mirror? But that's not her conditioning. Her conditioning is looking at the picture. So all of this is coming around. What changes would you like to see?
Well, I'm just always amazed. So what I'm doing now as an observer is watching. I try to sneak out and see a film every once in a while that they're showing, and I should come out much more often. But I do not have any kind of real knowledge about the whole computer revolution and the phones. And I don't have one. I have a 14-year-old cell phone. I'm just an observer now watching, and I continue to be amazed. I don't make any contributions. I can't. I don't have enough information. But I'm looking forward to the future. Although I would like to see some of the old things retained.
I'm in your generation, and I am totally in agreement with you. However, it moves forward whether we like it or not,
Yep.
and whether we want to stop it or
does.
not and say, hold it, we've gone far enough.
Yep.
It's interesting, I went with the man who helps me when I can't function with the computer, which is about every other day. But I call him, and he tells me, and he helps me out without coming here. But we were going to pick out some equipment, and he said, let's go, and he mentioned the store. And that was fine. He said, and the thing we want to do is pick the youngest person selling there. And it took me a moment or two to start laughing, but when I started laughing, I knew exactly what he was saying, because the older people, some of them may be very knowledgeable, but they gained this knowledge in an academic kind of way, whereas the young kids who looked 15 and 16 or 14, they actually lived the changes and experienced them more totally and basically. So this is the young people, and there's a lot to learn about how we got there. So don't stop doing what you're doing, because they need to know that there was a great deal that happened before we got to where we are at now. Exciting things happening, Del.
Yes, and thank you very much for having these two gentlemen. I wouldn't be here and doing what I'm doing without them.
It was a good idea, a wonderful idea. First of all, I enjoyed meeting them because they're both very interesting, knowledgeable, and obviously totally immersed in what they're doing and what they have done and what they brought to our community. But I think we have current, we have pre-current, we have current, and we have the upcoming youth. So we have the three minds and the three functions, and it gives us even that much more information about the college, about what are the three letters that I'm looking for?
Well, at SCF, we wouldn't, all of us wouldn't be here if we didn't have the kind of administration and occasional boards of directors that would support these kinds of initiatives.
Obviously, yes, and I think that's very important to mention, because without their help, and they're honoring, I think, what you guys are doing, what you started and what you are continuing to doing, recognizing how important it is in our world today. And the number of students, I think, are another indication of how popular it is, whether they in fact go into this profession or whether they're just knowledgeable about it to relate to it. I think both aspects are very, very important. Let's put the number on the screen again, because if you're interested in what we're talking about and think, hey, I think I would like to learn more about that and like to be part of it. 7, I can't, is 23, is that what it is?
752-5593.
It's just a smidgen a little too far. There it is. That's the number to call. You'll get Del, and he's very, very helpful. And he knows that school inside and outside, and he knows his profession inside and outside. So you're lucky to get hold of him. I don't know how much time we have, just a few moments remaining. Your work with Ringling College of Art and Design, who are wonderful friends of ours, and Larry Thompson will be on the program, as he is each year, very soon this season. An awful lot is happening there.
Oh yeah, you know, the new library has gone up. We'll be following in their footsteps, but it's a beautiful library at Ringling.
Now, do you teach there?
I do one afternoon a week. Right?
I'm
And
sorry?
I teach there one afternoon a week, and it allows me to, in fact, sometimes see some of our former students from SCF. I've had them in classes at Ringling as they have gone on to transfer. It's kind of nice.
Okay, well, you're
Yeah.
directing traffic, and that's important. Tell me about, we don't have too much time, John, what you're doing nowadays.
Well, I've been retired for 18 years, although
That doesn't mean you're not doing anything.
Well, I was teaching one class a semester up until last semester. I finally decided after that many years not to do it anymore. And maybe they didn't ask me back. I don't remember. But at any rate, I'm not doing much of anything except playing golf and working on my yard and travel. My wife and I have traveled a lot.
That's somewhat of a waste of talent. I mean, I know you love playing golf and you love doing your lawn. God forgive me for the lying. But I think maybe you ought to do a flashback the way it was, and bring John in.
John has a standing invitation to come to a class that I'm starting in February called Films of the 50s.
Oh.
And it's a class that meets every Tuesday from 9:30 to 1:30. We do double features. We do
Do you watch the
newsreels.
films of the
We watch the
50s?
films. We have discussions. It's an elective, and it's called Films of the 1950s.
All right, now these young people although that doesn't work that way today, I think it does work that the young people today are very familiar with old movies, and if they're not familiar, a total understanding, they know of them, and they know of the actors that performed in them. So that's kind of fun.
It's fun. Most importantly, we give them the experience on a big screen. We recreate the ambience as close as we can in either a theater or
They
a
come in
classroom
costume?
to the 50s. For Rebel Without a Cause, for sure. Different kind of rebels and different kind of causes today, though.
Well, if I know you, Del, you're always thinking of some new and exciting thing that initiates fresh interest. And I would really urge you to get hold of Interrogating the Image, whether you are interested in studying this subject matter or anything that we're talking about, just as a fascinating book. And it is. It's an excellent book, and it really talks about how would you explain this book?
Well, we look at movies that interrogate themselves. A movie like The Purple Rose of Cairo or Sunset Boulevard, from which we're going to be running in our Films of the 50s program. That's a movie about the movies. That's always been a fascinating subject for filmmakers. They like to self-analyze.
It's a fascinating book, well written, and you don't realize, and you get finished and you've learned a lot. And I wish all books written by professors and written by people such as yourself could be that interesting, because I don't hate the books. You have to read certain material, and you read it, and it's trying, and it's a lesson plan. It's a lesson. But this is not. This is an interesting book that happens to impart a great deal. Okay, we've got 1 minute and just enough time to remind you that we will be having our annual Community Video Archives Luncheon on April the 24th. We hope you can get there. We have 4 fascinating honorees, and you'll be reading about it in the newspaper, and we don't have any more time here, so you just have to find out. We have 30 seconds. I can tell you, we have Judge Lee Hayworth, fantastic, a man who was credited with doing more in the time he was judge than any other judge in our history of this community. Lee, that's Lee Hayworth. We have Charles Bailey, who is one of the outstanding legal minds, attorneys in our community. We have to say bye-bye. The other 2, you got Ian Webb, and the 4th one is, his name is, I don't remember.
Peterson.
But bye-bye for now.
The time really flew. We bid you adieu from Community. If you want to know why we love it here, so check